Good morning. I wanted to do a quick video this morning because I've been doing a lot of buying lately, and that's due mostly to the fact that I sold a collection of Magic cards from when I was a kid, and that gave me a little chunk of cash that I was able to play around with, and that's starting to dry up. So I really started to think about prioritizing and what I want to buy and what is important, or rather books that I really want to get my hands on. And I'll use this Eternals #1 behind me as an example. Super glad I bought it. Awesome Kirby cover, but I never really had a personal connection to the Eternals. So if I was looking at it now, would I jump on it as quickly as I did? I don't know. So I really wanted to try to focus what I'm looking for and prioritize. When I'm out looking for books on eBay or in shops, am I just gonna buy a book because it's a good deal, or am I gonna really hold my money and wait for the books that I really want? So I decided to put together a list to kind of help myself hone in on what those books might be. So I made a top 10, and just for fun, I also made a top 10 list of books that are well out of my reach and, are just kind of dream books, but thought it'd be fun to share. Number 10 on my want list is Mr. Miracle #1. The current Tom King run really made me really appreciate this character, and this cover is just great. It's super fun, and this was a book that was kind of on the borderline for me about which list I should put it on, because higher grades can go for quite a bit, but mid grades are pretty affordable. I mean, depending on how you look at it, but these aren't necessarily all books I'm just going to run out and grab. They're just books that I am going to have at the top of my mind. Number 9 is Savage She-Hulk #1. This book, I just really love the cover, and that may be foreshadowing for my other list, but this is a book that I feel like is really going to possibly jump in value. And again, that's not a reason why I want to buy any of these books, but it is a reason to buy them if I think they're going to go up, because I'd rather buy them at a lower price now than wait if I think they're going to be higher in the future. Does that make sense? Hope so. Next book is Amazing Spider-Man #33. This cover is all-time great Spider-Man cover to me. Definitely in my top 5, maybe in my top 2. I think a lot of early Spider-Man covers to me aren't as dynamic as this. I feel like the really early ones are compositionally kind of weird sometimes, and I'm sure I'm going to get burned in the comments for saying that, because I know a lot of people love those early covers, but to me this was kind of a turning point for where this is much more exciting and dynamic compositionally, and it really changed the tone of ASM to me. Next is another Spider-Man book, Spectacular Spider-Man #64 first appearance of Cloak and Dagger. Going back to what I said about She-Hulk, this is the opposite, where I should have bought this book a couple of years ago before the show came out, and since then it's spiked a bit, and it's certainly not outside of reach, but I could have saved myself a few bucks if I had jumped on it before. So hopefully I'll learn my lesson and grab a Savage She-Hulk sooner rather than later. Next is Next Men number 21, the first full appearance of Hellboy. I know that there's like that San Diego Comic-Con book and other weird book that are technically like earlier appearances. But this is, to me, if you've watched my cameos versus first full appearances video, you kind of maybe get a sense of how I feel about what his real first appearance is, and to me this is his real first appearance. Mike Mignola, I think, is definitely in my list of favorite artists of all time. He just is in a league of his own, and I think it'd be a really cool book to own. Next is another book that's maybe on the border of which list it should belong on, but it is, again, pretty affordable in mid to lower grades. It's X-Men 94, and I feel like it's a real companion piece to GSX number 1, so I would really like to have it to go along with that. And since I am very particular about organization and things matching, like, it drives me nuts that I have like this label and CGC. Like, I wish they were all the same. I mean, I can live with it, but like ideally I'm not like compulsive about it, but I prefer things a certain way. So I'd really like to get a 6.5 in the 94, so it can be like a literal companion piece to that. So I actually have an eBay saved search for X-Men 94 at 6.5, so I can try to track one down at the same grade. So I'm weird. Number 4 is Sandman number 4. It is the first appearance of Lucifer, and you can see just barely over my shoulder my other 2 graded Sandman books, number 1 and number 8. I feel like number 4 is the other big key. First appearance of Daniel, to me, is another key book, but it's not really like worth that much, so that's like an easy pickup. I feel like it's not something I need to keep track of as far as like bigger purchases, I guess. Number 3 is the one Valiant book that has always eluded me, which is Harbinger number 1. It's another book that I feel like I'm losing time on trying to pick up, because it once the movies start coming out, this could really pop up. But like, I want a high grade in it, I want it with the coupon, so I'm not just gonna like go out and buy any old copy, which is why I have not yet. Number 2 is Preacher number 1. Not only do I love this cover, I love this series. It is super offensive. We talked about it in the We Love Comics video that we did, my wife and I, briefly. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I started reading it on my way to college in 1998, which will give you a clue as to how old I am. Very. At least I feel it sometimes. And it really was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do this in comic books. And I never got my hands on a number one. And I had a chance to buy one for like 150, like really high grade, right before the show came out. Maybe it was even less than that. Maybe it was 100. And I was like, I don't want to spend that much on it. And then the show came out and it jumped up, and it dipped down a little bit because the show is kind of a stinker, if you ask me. But still not a cheap book. So I still haven't picked one up, but number 2 on my list. Number 1 on my list is a book that is actually fairly easy to find and really pretty affordable, but it is a book that I've been looking for a long time, and I really want to make sure I get the right copy of this book because I love it so much. It is X-Men number 130, first appearance of Dazzler, early Dark Phoenix saga, and it is funny because I hate Disco, but I love this book. So I really want to find a nice high grade. The colors have to be nice. I want sharp corners, and I just haven't come across it yet at the right price. So I am holding out for the right copy. So that is my top 10 reasonable want list. So I'm going to go through my top 10 insane want list for books that I likely, I'd say generously likely never own, probably most definitely not. Number 10 is the only modern book on the list. It's Captain Marvel 17 second print. This book is stupid money, especially in high grades. It's like over $1,000, and I know it's a low print run, and it's the first appearance of a hot character, or first cover appearance. And obviously I want it, so I think it's cool too, but not spending that kind of money on a book like that because it could drop real easily. And I hope it does, so I can pick it up. Next is Batman number 181, first appearance of Poison Ivy, who is one of my favorite Batman villains, or villainesses, I guess. I don't know what the proper terminology for that is. Batman adversaries, how about that? I think she's super cool, and her motivation and her psychosis, which is something really interesting about all of Batman's villains. Like, they all have... My cat's going nuts, trying to get into the room. She's not getting in. She causes all sorts of mischief. Batman villains have all their own really unique psychoses, whatever the term is. And I find that really interesting that they're not just like all, oh, I'm out to get Batman. It's, Poison Ivy has very specific goals, and Batman is in the way. So, Poison Ivy. That was a long rant about Poison Ivy. The next is another Batman book, Detective 359, first appearance of Batgirl. Just another really cool book. I was, similarly as I've talked about in the past about the X-Men 90s cartoon, the Batman animated series, I think, to me, is still the best representation of Batman outside of the comics in any medium. The Christopher Nolan movies can pound sand compared to Batman animated series. I think every single character is represented to their perfection in this series. the design of it, the stories, the voice acting. Mark Hamill as the Joker is one of the best Jokers ever. So owning some first appearances of some cool Batman characters would be awesome. But since Batman is such an old property, it's really hard to find bigger characters affordably, which is why these are on my other list. Next up is Fantastic Four #5, First Appearance of Doctor Doom. Just crazy money. Doctor Doom is probably my favorite Marvel villain, Joker being my favorite DC villain. But just that's never going to happen buying this book. Next up is Marvel Spotlight #5, First Appearance of Ghost Rider, or Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider rather, because I do have, strangely and randomly, this first appearance of Ghost Rider, which is the first appearance of the character Ghost Rider, but it's just much different Ghost Rider. This is another book that I could probably grab at a lower grade, but the nicer copies are really a lot of money. Next up, which is number 5, House of Secrets #92. Swamp Thing, my boy Alec, represent my name as a horrible monster. Awesome cover, and just really cool old horror book. And first appearance of a character I think is really cool, but a ridiculous amount of money. Speaking of ridiculous amounts of money, Incredible Hulk 181. I mean, come on, guys, what's going on with this book? Every day you look at it, and it's just like, well, it can't get any higher, and then someone buys one for more money. So, missed the boat on that one for sure. Not that I was ever even able to see it from the shore. That works as an analogy, right? I think so. Yeah, the rest of these books are just out of control money. Amazing Fantasy 15. What? X-Men #1. Bananas. And my #1 most wanted book ever, my ultimate grail, if I could pick any book, I don't even think I'd pick Action 1 or Detective 27, so spoilers, it's not either of those. I would pick this book, and it's not even a character I necessarily would consider one of my favorites. I would put X-Men or Spider-Man above this for sure, but to me, this cover puts it well over the top. It's Incredible Hulk #1. I don't know. I just love this cover so much. It is a representation of the time. It is something that is just super exciting, makes you curious. The composition, the colors, I don't know. I love everything about it. I think it's perfection. And if I ever were to get my hands on it, I would just close up shop, say, okay, I've succeeded as a collector. But it is outrageously outside of my reach. So unless I win the lottery or invent something that becomes like the next OxyClean or Slap Chop, I don't know, are those people millionaires? Probably not. Maybe. Well, Billy Mays is dead. And the other guy, the Slap Chop guy, is, I don't know what happened with him. I don't think he's dead, but his career's dead because of, I'm getting off track. Incredible Hulk #1, #1 book of all time. So that wraps that up. My top 10 plus 10 books that I am going to try to focus on over the next however long. Obviously the first 10 are the ones that I'm actually looking for. The next 10, unless I mean, the only other option is like that dream scenario of going to a garage sale where someone doesn't know what they have, and even in that case, like, I feel like I'm the kind of person where if I went to a garage sale and someone had an Incredible Hulk #1 sitting in a box and they didn't know what it was, like, I would feel the need to be like, I'm sorry, I can't buy this for $1. Like, you need to go to a consignment shop and get your money's worth out of this. And then I would both regret, I mean, like, either decision I would regret, because I would feel like a total turd man person if I bought that from someone. But at the same time, I would say, why didn't I just take that home? It would have such a nice home here with me. I've rambled enough. I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to wish you a good day. I'm going to say thanks for watching, and next time I will have something a little more planned and focused, and not me just jabbering. Alright, enjoy your days. Thanks for watching. Now return your back to the ocean.